The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics. This week, I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 a.m. on WVNN in Huntsville, and for 1 hour and 1 hour only on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham from, 10 to 11. So there we go. You can hear me there. Mecca Music, you can see her all the time at 256today.com. She is the CEO. Smart news for smart people, smart enough to make me say her thing so she doesn't forget it. That's how smart she is. Let's get ready to have a great show. Jay Town will be with us. He is a former U.S. attorney appointed by Donald Trump. We'll talk to him about a bunch of different legal issues that are out there, both in the state of Alabama involving redistricting, local to Huntsville, where we have a city councilman who is Devin, the convicted thief, Keith. And then we also have the federal issues that we'll talk about a lot, too, as well. Lots happening here. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's get to the 2-minute warning. All right, Mecca, there was a GOP debate, and it was on TV, and everybody watched it, and stuff happened. I will tell you this. I watched this entire debate. I thought Vivek Ramaswamy was very interesting in this debate. That doesn't necessarily mean that I like him or I'm going to vote for him, but I thought he did exactly what he needed to do. He made a name for himself. He made a big splash. He picked a bunch of fights. He won a bunch of fights. And then he said, okay, I'm going to make a bunch of quips. And then he'll deliver a quip and then say that was a quip. And then that was pretty good. Ron DeSantis underperformed, I thought. This was his event to say, here I am. I'm going to be the guy, the number 2 guy to Trump. And then Mike Pence, uncharacteristically bold, I thought was okay. Tim Scott, I think he flamed out. And Nikki Haley just doesn't, I think, have it at this point. Chris Christie, he's just there to fight people. He's doing a great job there. My rundown overall, it goes like this. Ramaswamy, DeSantis, Pence. Those are my top 3 finishers. What'd you see? I
would agree with that. I would say I think Haley did have some good remarks. I think she had a few good punches that landed well. Also, you mentioned Chris Christie. I think he was entertaining and passionate.
Chris Farley was also entertaining. That would be my comparison to Chris Christie. Okay, that would be my comparison there.
I thought he was enthusiastic.
Yeah, he's doing an insult comedy routine. I mean, that's essentially all he's doing. And I'm not saying that didn't work for Donald Trump because that's essentially what Donald Trump did.
Yeah.
I would say Ramaswamy did the Trump thing from the first debate he was ever in. He kind of got out there. He threw a bunch of punches. He absorbed a lot. He was the most attacked person,
he was the target.
Not named Donald Trump or Joe Biden.
Yeah, he was the target last night, which I found very, very interesting. I think he did handle it well. My question for you is, do you see him as a possible vice president candidate?
Well, if Trump is the nominee, he wants to be. I mean, you can tell.
Yeah, that would be.
And I'm not suggesting that a quick-witted young guy like him, with the background he has, which checks some other boxes, he's a good person to put in that spot. I question what he actually believes, but that actually lines up pretty well with Donald Trump sometimes because you never know what exactly the direction they're going to go in. So maybe that's about right.
And let us mention DeSantis again. He's getting poor reviews for the debate performance, but I didn't see any.
I've seen Fox News had a panel on Thursday, and every single person there changed their vote to Ron DeSantis. Every single undecided. Okay, so I think they saw a lot of what they liked. He was good on the issues, substance, flash, no.
Right.
But on the issues, I think he was pretty clear. A lot of people, one of the complaints is that they talked about stupid stuff like UFOs and things like that.
Yeah, so. And then Christie handled that, I thought, pretty hilariously.
Yeah, pretty good.
But also Pence, I think, did a fantastic job. It just reminds you why Pence is Pence.
Way less Trump than I thought. Way less, talking. I thought there would be videos, and I told you before that I thought they were going to roll a Lego Trump statue out and they would take wax at it, but they didn't do any of that stuff. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Donald Trump and take a couple whacks at him. There should be a mugshot by the time you see this, and I will tell you it's probably going to be fantastic. It is. Becca, let's acknowledge that this is done before the mugshot comes out.
Yes.
Will he smile?
There are bets.
I know. Will he smile? Let me finish the question. Will he smile or will he scowl?
I think it's going to be a both. I think it's going to be a both.
I think he's going to. I think he's going to mean mug it. I think he's going to give that mean mug face, and then
with a little hint, and
it's going to end up on shirts, and it's going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So all these mug shots, I see them. Rudy Giuliani, sad. I mean, this is such a fall from grace for that guy. He was America's mayor.
He was.
I mean, I will go back. My dad, after 9/11, I don't know why my dad did this, except he was weird, sent him one of his military medals.
Wow.
I know. Yeah,
I know. See,
that was how people with. That's
I know.
I remember. And Giuliani sent it back, or Giuliani's people did with a letter, and that was how he was revered.
Yes.
And now he's being arrested in Fulton County, Georgia. It's such a fall. The Trump stuff, I get it. There's a political side to all of this. I think this case is incredibly weak. Jay Town will probably tell us something similar about this when we have him on. But for Rudy Giuliani to be tied up in all of this and all these other names that are out there, I just think this is a really terrible moment here for everyone involved.
But as you mentioned, both sides are going to be using it.
Yeah.
Both sides. I think the Democrats believe that it helps him in the primary, but hurts him in the general.
If I'm Democrats, I put a shirt that has all their mugshots on it. If I'm Republicans, it's just Trump.
Right.
So the dueling mugshot T-shirts is the way you do this, and you sell them, and you will probably raise a ton of money with that. So I think they want that mugshot. Donald Trump said one more indictment, and then I've got it locked up, and he got it. So now we got to see if that next part comes true. All right, let's talk about this next race. Now, it says Reed wins. Talking about Montgomery, Mayor Stephen Reed winning re-election. This thing was never really in doubt. I think we pretty much know how these bigger cities work. If you are a mayor there, you can get re-elected over and over and over again, and you don't really have much to worry about. That's just what happens. And eventually, maybe you peter out, maybe you go to something else. That something else, a congressional run. Lots of talk about Stephen Reed possibly running for Congress. If I am Barry Moore, I am somewhat concerned about this. If they draw it with Montgomery in the district.
Because there's so much in the air. It's not just, Reed could run. It's what these districts could look like once this is actually decided.
I think there is no choice but to put Montgomery into District 2 if you're going to do it this way. They might mess with one a little bit where Terry Sewell gets back some of her Democrats and black voters in order to make her whole again, but they'll just take those from Mobile. And if I'm Jerry Carl, I'm like, no, come back. People are going to vote against me, please come back. I don't think he's going to care about that.
I don't think so, yeah.
Barry Moore has to worry about it, and I think Stephen Reed has a real chance here if he can get a turnout. But can he replicate that turnout outside of Montgomery? Possibly. Here's what I think the story becomes if that all plays out. Now, there's like 10 things that have to happen.
If.
I think what's going to happen is no matter how they redraw it, you will eventually see Montgomery in that district. Eventually. So let's just say that that's the case. There are other options.
There are other options, like a Birmingham Center district.
Sure, but then you'd have 2 Birmingham-centric districts. I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see how it goes. What's interesting about this, though, is how much media attention a race like that would get. Because they redrew the districts. Now it's a competitive seat. Now you have a legitimate Democratic candidate running. He is a
successful one.
He is a young African-American man from Alabama. It's made for TV. He will be on TV all the time. And he said, I mean, this is a great moment for him, but a couple months ago, he was on tape saying, all I got to do is get on MSNBC and people will send me money. I mean, that's essentially what he said.
I mean, it's true.
I'm not
that's not a bad thing.
No.
That means that
the context in which he was saying that.
I know.
He was saying, I don't care about anything because I can just.
No,
I agree. But I think that the point it's making is I think that translates into a campaign as well.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I think that's it.
This is interesting to watch.
All right, now let's talk about some petty crime because this is a pretty petty guy who got involved in some petty crime. If you want to believe that this is all that happened, which I do not. Huntsville City Councilman Devin Keith, convicted thief. Devin Keith, this is a guy who stole from Walmarts both in his district and out multiple times. He goes and pleads guilty to 2 of the charges. They drop the other 2. And then he walks out and tells the media, hey, the other 2 cases, they didn't have anything. That's why they dropped that. The assistant district attorney pops up and goes, that's not true. And then he continues to say, I accept responsibility, but this was just negligence. And the assistant district attorney pops up and goes, yeah, that's not true either. And there's all these issues that continue and remain. There is some talk about possibly revisiting this case. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen because Councilman Keith has basically said, I pled guilty to something I didn't do. And that his public statements show that. It would be quite interesting to see that happen.
No, he didn't. He said he did it, but it was an accident. So, yes, I'm guilty, but it was accidentally guilty.
The thing he pled to was intentional theft. That's the thing he pled to, intentional theft.
But in his statement, he is not saying, I didn't do this. He's saying it was a mistake, an accident.
Well, I mean, he absolutely is saying I do. Because, and hold on, I know we're quibbling about this, and there is a line here that we can discuss. He says, oh, and they found some evidence that showed that I actually had paid for it. And they're like, no, we didn't.
Okay, well, that part might be different.
The thing is, he cut a deal, and then he went and spit in the face of the people whose deal he cut, and they could and should undo his deal, in my opinion. Will they?
I understand what you're saying, but more so, will it matter? Do you think this actually hurts Keith in his district?
No. I mean, this is like Donald Trump getting indicted. They don't care. There's zero. Look, that was the district that had Richard Showers represented. And the people outside of Alabama probably don't know anything about it, but that guy was bad, horrible, no good. And I know you don't agree. I mean, bless his heart or whatever. The point is, that's a fact.
Okay, well then let's
and he was reelected over and over. And then Keith beat him. They're like, oh, there's someone who's worse.
Well, then let's look at Devin Keith, though. No, he has done a lot of good. He has had a lot of success in North Alabama. There have been developments, redevelopments. I mean, things that are happening, and a lot of that is under Keith's watch and direction.
I agree.
So I think he can ride this out. He can point to his successes and acknowledge like this was a mistake.
Let me just offer this up. Devin Keith's successes are basically the rest of Huntsville's cup runneth over and falling into his district. Okay, that's what's basically happening here. No, I'm sorry, that's a reality. That's not me saying that. That is how it is understood. This is not people are going, oh yeah, we got to put our stuff in District 1 in Huntsville. That is, I don't think that's what's happening here. But you're right. He can look at these things and he say, look, here are the jobs that are coming here and stuff like this.
Success,
he can absolutely do that and he can run on that. But there is a reality that is slightly different, at least in my opinion. That's how I view it. Mecca and I will just have to disagree on this one. We'll bring Jay Town on, talk about the legal side of that. He's a former U.S. attorney. He'll be with us next here on Alabama Politics.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you. Welcome back to Alabama Politics. This week, I am Dale Jackson. With me, as always, Mecca Music. And our guest this week, regular guest here on the program, former U.S. Attorney Jay Town, appointed by Donald Trump. And I got a lot of questions for him. We'll talk about the Trump case. We also have a statewide thing we need to talk about. But first, I want to start with Devin Keith, the convicted thief. And he has done quite the number on himself, I think. He gets a sweet deal, although it's probably in line with what other shoplifters get, even though they allegedly have way more on him. And then he goes out and basically spits in the face of the guy who makes the deal with him and says, oh, yeah, they didn't have anything, and, I didn't do any of this. And the Assistant District Attorney, Tim Gann, comes out and goes, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did all these things. So none of that's true. He's lying again. Jay, is Devin Keith opening the door up for them to rescind this deal and put the screws to him?
Well, it's possible that Judge Demos, Patty Demos, was the district court judge that took the plea. It's possible that she could say, look, I mean, in my courtroom, he said that, he intentionally stole items, because that is regardless of whether there was a recitation of facts, there is no careless or reckless theft, right, which are the two words that he used in his statement. It's intentional. Theft is intentional. You meant to take what was not yours. And so she could say, you know what, I'm going to bring you back in. I don't accept the providence of your plea, and we're going to have a trial. Now, I don't think she's going to do that. I think everybody's just glad this thing's over with. It was a good deal for everyone. It was fair. It was right down the middle. It's the same deal that anybody would have gotten. Devin Keith didn't get a sweetheart deal. He didn't get a more harsher, I don't know if that's good grammar, punishment. He got the deal that folks get. But his statement afterwards, honestly, was confounding. He should have thanked everyone for the thoughts and prayers and, how he's learned his lesson and moved on, instead of making excuses that are nonsensical and legal fictions.
But Jay, as far as his statement, and you're saying the judge is not likely to do this, despite what Dale would do if he was in that position.
If you're watching, Judge, please do it.
But my question would be, though, even with the statements, even with the pleading guilty, does this hurt Devin Keith in his district?
Well, I would, Mecca, and I've been asked that, I hope so. I hope that districts 1 through 5, every one of them, believe that the people serving them and that are in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars, right, in Huntsville public fisc, that they want the best leader that they can have. And I don't believe that District 1 thinks that it's Devin Keith. I just can't believe that, right? Now, look, he's a smooth-talking guy. He's been doing the job, so he's got, a leg up on whoever else might want it. But he also has just been convicted of crimes of moral turpitude, stealing, theft, being dishonest. I mean, that's one thing you need when you're in charge of our tax dollars and our future here in this city. The thing that's so aggravating, Mecca, is that people woke up. We're trying to recruit. We're spending $800-900 billion a year in this town, and we're trying to get recruit talent to Huntsville. And when that talent who wants to move here Googles Huntsville this week, you know what they see? Devin Keith, city councilman, one of 5 people in charge of the whole city, was convicted of theft.
And Jay, let me stop right there, because I think you're right, and I think that's why people in the city are like, all right, let's go. This is fine. Let's just move this on, and we don't want to see this anymore. They want this on. So what we will do is we will move on as well and talk about redistricting here for a second. That 3-judge panel still hasn't released their decision as of the recording of this program. Do you think they've made their decision, and what's taking them so long? This could have came out already. What happens next?
So, there was a Supreme Court case that does impact the 3-judge panel, and they have to study that case and the analysis of the justices. When Alabama said, no, you're going to have to go back and draw another map. But what I'm guessing, though, I don't think, from what I understand, the hearing didn't go that well for the state. But I do believe that the state's plan is to appeal this once again to the 11th Circuit and get back to the Supreme Court. Because I think what the state is saying is, look, you can't tell me to draw a map about race when it's against the law to draw a map about race. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to make decisions here that are about just politics. And you can't, and in Alabama, unfortunately for the Republican Party, most black Alabamians are not Republicans. They should be. I wish they were. I wish the party did more to bring them in to the tent, to the fold. It's a great opportunity right now, but that's the way those two things have sort of been blended together. I understand the legal arguments, honestly, of the black belt, and hopefully Steve Marshall's got a good plan.
Jay, talk to us a little bit about some of the possible solutions and the way this could go. We discussed a little bit of it earlier, but what are some likely outcomes from your perspective?
Well, the biggest outcome that people should not expect is that Alabama is not going to draw a two majority minority districts. That is not what was required by the Supreme Court opinion. It's not what is required by law to draw even one. So people need to stop with that expectation. And so it's I think just going to be an opportunity district, and what the percentage of that opportunity needs to be is going to be up to a judge. I think they're going to keep drawing maps for years.
Great. Fantastic.
How's that for a solution?
No, that you're probably.
I mean, likely outcome. That's what I asked for. So thank you, Jay.
Everyone just send your maps in and we'll see what happens. All right. Jay, let's talk about what's going on in Fulton County this week. As of this recording, Donald Trump's mugshot has not been released. If you were his attorney, would you advise him to smile real big or maybe scowl into the camera as he does his mugshot?
Smile real big. Wear your red MAGA hat. One thing I would also, if I was his political advisor, I'd tell him not to post bail.
Yep.
It'd be the ultimate head fake, right? You know what? I'm not posting bail. You release me on my recognizance, or I'm going to shut this whole place down, because the Secret Service is going to come in, and they're going to take the whole wing for me. And you're going to have to overcrowd your other wings so that I can be safe. And, you know, I'm entitled to protection and my presumption of innocence. And Fonnie Willis and the sheriff, by the way, the Fulton County Jail is worse than any Alabama prison as far as its decrepit, nature and physical violence and other things. So, you know what? I'm going to stay here for a while. And I will lead the news cycle every day this weekend. Not that he wouldn't anyway, but I'm a political prisoner. Letters from a Fulton County jail.
Fresh meat as he walks down the hall. I'm sure that's exactly how that's going to go with 3 Secret Service agents, and they lock him in a cell. I'm sure that's exactly what would happen. I looked at these photos, some of them we have seen. The Rudy Giuliani one, very sad, fall from grace. Jenna Ellis smiling. You're seeing all sorts of different takes on this and different levels of bail and things of that nature. Is the case any stronger this week than it was last week? I know we've seen some flipping down in the Mar-a-Lago case. You say worse. Okay, tell us why.
Okay, so all of these motions to remove to federal court by Mark Meadows, by Cheesebro, by Jeffrey Clark, Donald Trump will eventually get there. When you remove to federal court, it's because, look, the state of Georgia can't prosecute me for something that I had a legal right to do as a federal officer, right? So I'll give you a great for instance. A DEA agent does a controlled buy of dope. Well, that's against the law. You can't buy dope. You can't possess dope, right, after you buy it. That's against the law. Well, I'm a federal agent. I'm immune from you, Georgia, prosecuting me for buying 5 kilos of cocaine from a drug dealer. It was a controlled buy. And the supremacy clause is what gives that immunity. And so when they remove to federal court, 1, federal rules of criminal procedure apply. 2, the federal judge has to consider, either by habeas corpus or the supremacy clause by motion, that these individuals could actually, they had legal rights to make phone calls to the Secretary of State in Georgia. Well, okay, then I'm immune from prosecution now, and you start plucking some of these defendants out. Mark Meadows will be the first one that gets dismissed. And when he's out, all the people that were attached to Meadows on the outside of the org chart of this RICO nonsense, they have to fall out because they're not attached to the fulcrum, right? And so that's when this starts to fall apart. And it was always going to fall apart because Fonnie Willis, she's not terribly bright. She's not a real prosecutor. She's an embarrassment to prosecutors everywhere. And I don't say that as a Trump sycophant. I say that as a career professional prosecutor that worked at the highest levels of prosecution. I spent my career in a courtroom, not in a corner office. And so I just, I'm befuddled why more people are in the media don't see this case as being, you don't see him talking about what a strong case it is.
No.
You see him hoping that it goes to trial quickly so that maybe he'll be convicted of something by a Fulton County jury. Last point, Dale, if it goes to federal court, all 19 defendants get removed to federal court, and the jury pool is no longer Fulton County. It's the entire 10 counties of the Northern District of Georgia.
Nice.
Jay, really quick, we're running out of time on this segment, but I want to get your take on the presidential debate, the GOP presidential debate. Who do you think won?
Well, I can tell you who didn't win is Vivek Ramaswamy. But I still maintain, unlike Dale, that Ron DeSantis was the only one on that stage that looked like a president of the United States, that was presidential. His records, but all the issues they said, I'm going to do, Ron DeSantis was the only one who could say, yeah, I did that. And I did it recently. So I felt like he acquitted himself very well. Nikki Haley had a very good night. I thought Mike Pence was more aggressive than I've ever seen him. But Ramaswamy, to me, he just came off as a petulant, obnoxious kid whose default is to go back to insulting people when he's out of ideas, because every one of his ideas is about an inch thick.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. No problem. No, thank you very much, Jay. I don't think we disagree all that much. The only thing I would say is that I think Ramaswamy actually won the debate, but all the other things you said are actually true. I'm just throwing that out there. Jay, thank you very much. We got to take this break. We are way late here. Jay Town, thank you for being here. Mecca, thank you for being here. Show's about to get a lot better because she's leaving. So stay tuned. It's Alabama Politics this week. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about it today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you. Well, welcome back to Alabama Politics this week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for being here. We're about to jump in to the 7 things. Well, that's not true. We're about to jump into the party shop. But first, let me tell you about the 7 things you should be talking about today. Every morning, email inbox, 7 things you should be talking about today. Go sign up at yellowhammernews.com. Right now, though, let's go ahead and jump to that party shot. My party shot this week is directed at all those people who both worried that the Dobbs decision would open up the door for things like the ban on transgender surgeries and medication in the state of Alabama, and then claimed that the Dobbs decision did not allow the state of Alabama to ban transgender surgeries and medications and things like that for minors. It absolutely does. And I think this latest ruling by the court says just that. Now, it's not over, but the reason that it was allowed to move forward here in the state and the ban was able to go in place is because the judges said, yeah, the argument that the state of Alabama is making is probably going to prevail here because it is the obvious argument. The Dobbs case basically said, look, the states can come up with their own decisions on these things, and there is no constitutional right to an abortion, and there is no constitutional right to underage transgender surgeries and medication. That's what this rules. Now, the bigger problem here for those on the left is going to be that there are going to be states all over the country that say, okay, now we get the opportunity to move on some of these things we want. The problem there with those on the right is there are going to be states all over this country that say, now we get to move on these things that we want. But that's the way the system is supposed to work. The states are supposed to make these decisions, and you just may not like what the state of Alabama has done. And trust me, there are plenty of people in Connecticut don't like what they're doing as well. That's how the system is supposed to work. We're not supposed to be ruled by a court in Washington, D.C. that just makes up a right out of thin air, and that's what happened on the abortion issue, and it trickled its way out to a bunch of other issues. The correct answer is the one they came up with now, and this is the consequence of that. Thank you very much for watching and listening to Alabama Politics this week.